Man, it really has been a minute since I've done a Figma review, and even longer since I've done one of an Attack on Titan Figma. 6 whole years, that is absolutely crazy. The Attack on Titan Figma were some of the biggest videos on my channel back in the early days, so it only seemed right to do this one right here. Of course, this is the Figma Erwin Smith, and this is a box that comes with a lot inside. But like I mentioned, the Attack on Titan Figma were some of the biggest videos ever on this channel, and they're still some of my favorite action figures. They still stand front and center in my figure and Gunpla collection. Of course, there is a review of all 4 of these figures here on the channel. That, of course, is Figma Mikasa. If I'm not mistaken, she was the first ever. Figma Erwin, who I queued up for a solid, 2 hours to get at Wonder Festival. And of course, Figma Erwin himself and Figma Levi, all of which are here on the channel if you want to check them out. I didn't want to take these down off of the shelf because they are a little bit on the finicky side when there is so many all bunched together like this, so I'm just going to throw Erwin up right now so you can get a bit of a size comparison and an idea of what he would look like in your collection with these guys. And as for what we can see from the box right here, this seems like it's pretty much what we would have seen before with some added extra bits, especially big old horse. So in general, my first impressions are I expect this to be exactly what we saw before, which is fantastic. It does come with pretty much everything we would have seen before, as well as the Figma horse, so if you missed that before, this is your chance to get one now. So it does go without saying that the Figma Erwin is a bit on the pricey side. So if you do want 10% off your order, there is a code down there in the description for Hobby Link Japan, which of course this review right here would not have been possible without. So if you do want one of these of your own, the link is down there and your 10% off coupon. But just remember, just like I've mentioned in other videos, in case you haven't seen those videos, that is a one-use only coupon and it's good till the end of August. So if you're going to use it, make sure it counts. But anyway, let's get right into the review. So first off, getting that box open, this is your typical looking Figma box, just a whole lot bigger, which does make me happy. My complaints with recent Figma is they don't really have a whole lot in the box. Usually it's just a figure and a couple of bits, and not as much as I used to love seeing inside Figma boxes, but this one comes with quite a lot. So in here we've got 2 layers of the plastic internal packaging. A lot of this stuff we would have seen before with the previous versions of the Attack on Titan Figmas. But the biggest, most awesome thing in here is you get a whole horse. So yeah, mainly I'm super psyched about the horse, but Erwin right here, he's pretty cool too, and we're going to take a look at him first. So anyway, starting right into it, we're going to take a look at the aesthetics, and there is Erwin up on a shelf with a collection. So this is mainly big old Gunpla, so it might make him look a little bit on the small side, but I'll pop him with some Figma soon so you can see that too. But there's something about the color scheme and the general character design of Attack on Titan characters that makes them really pop out. They're definitely very, very iconic looking. In general, that old school Figma quality is right here. The paint applications look perfect. This is a very good representation of the character, and all in all, this thing looks pretty damn good. Once again, we've got all that strappy detail. The wings of freedom on his back, shoulders, and chest all look great with those decals. I will mention though, a lot of you guys in the past did mention that these can fall off or get rubbed away very easily, so if you get one of these or if you have one of these, take care. Figma Erwin's face looks great, the eyes are super striking, but the only real complaint I would have is this super large seam line that goes down this side of his hair. That can be a little bit on the distracting side, but besides that, it does look beautiful. I will also mention that before getting this figure, I had the, innate fear that they were just going to reuse the bodies of the older Figma, like Figma Erwin or Figma Levi's body, so it wouldn't really be to scale, but that is not the case. And speaking of which, let's do a couple of size comparisons. So first up, there's a size comparison beside the Figma Erwin Jaeger. So Erwin is definitely taller, but the proportions seem a little bit different. Something tells me that scale-wise, this isn't exactly the height he would be beside Erwin. I think he would be a little bit taller, but I could be mistaken. But he does have a head that's more proportional to his body compared to the way Erwin right here looks, if you get what I mean. Also, there are some minor differences between the two. For example, the general color palette used on the Figma Erwin is a little bit warmer, and I feel a little bit more color accurate to that we see here with Erwin or the rest of the previously released Attack on Titan Figma. However, once again, this figure is 6 years old, so it could just be faded over time. So now moving along with the size comparisons, next up is Levi, and now you know for definite these things are not to scale with each other. And also, my Levi's one dusty boy. Next up then we've got the Eren Titan model kit by Kotobukiya. There's Erwin beside a robot Damashi Gundam figure, beside the Medicos Jotaro Kujo, and there he is beside a whole bunch of other Figma. Once again, these are always not to scale, that is what it says on the boxes, so Erwin right here does feel a little bit smaller than he should be if it was the general 1/12 scale that a lot of these things tend to be in and around. But still, he looks great, is your general Figma size, and what can I say? It's one awesome looking Figma. Moving along. So now moving on to the horse, and this thing is absolutely fantastic. I adore this right here. So first off, I will mention that I have had previous experience with the original Figma horse. All I can say is it did not thrill me in the least. It was honestly quite the pain in the butt. It couldn't hold itself up. Even with 2 stands attached to it, it still could not stand. It was an absolute letdown, but that is not the case here. This thing is as solid as a rock. It does look absolutely fantastic. If you get in close to some of the paint apps on the straps, etc., they do look a little bit on the rough side, but that is just under extreme close-up scrutiny. From a distance, it looks fantastic. What can I say? Compared to the previous Figma horse, this thing is insanely good. Also, props to Max Factory for paying attention to the anatomical details. So in order to test out its posability, I'm going to go through Google here, grab a couple of horse poses, and just see how it can pull them off. So first off, we're going to start with this casual gallop right here. Can a gallop be casual? I'm not sure. But all the joints in this are very strong, unlike the other, older variant of the Figma horse I saw before that can't stand up even with 2 stands. It has absolutely no issue getting into pose, and when it's in the pose, it looks natural and looks very, very nice. So far, so good. Let's try one more. So the next and final pose we're going to try with this guy right here without Erwin on it is going to be that typical rearing horse pose. So this did work out quite well. I did try using the base in the jobby hole, but the weight distribution just wasn't quite right, so I had to go with the under hole. And there is one minor thing that keeps this pose from being perfect. It does look good, very good I might add, but this figure right here is missing the horse's knee joint right here. This one down here is technically its ankle, which is the one we have right here, so there should be one more joint here in order to make this exactly like what we're seeing here, but it still looks pretty damn good. So now moving on to the accessories, and here is Figma Erwin with absolutely everything that it comes with. So besides the horse, what you're seeing right here is exclusive to this figure. Everything else right here we've seen before multiple times with the other figures, so I'm going to gloss over them quite quickly. First off, we've got 2 of that classic Figma stand, in my opinion, still the best figure or model kit stand that exists. We've got that Survey Core mantle. As for the included hands in here, as well as the basic fists we saw already, we have 2 different styles of holding hands and some wide spread dynamic ones. Next up then, we've got that iconic 3D maneuver gear, as well as all the accessories for using with that, which is this smoke trail right here. We've got those pair of blades, a whole bunch of ropey bits, those little grapple majiggers, the effect parts for using with those, some various adapters, and a spare wrist. So as for what is unique to this figure right here, that is the faceplates. This is the standard basic one, this commanding shouting face, and this absolutely psycho looking, angry-eyed, teeth gritting stank face right here. Yep, that's one unhappy boy. In order to change these, you just pop off the face like so, simple, and then just pop on the one that you want. As for attaching that empty sleeve, it's pretty simple. You just pop off the arm. That would be the right arm. Be careful while doing this because some of these joints can be quite breakable. And once you have it off, you just pop on the empty sleeve just like so. Simple as. And there's a full 360-degree spin of what Erwin will look like with that alternate arm part attached. And so far, looking pretty damn good. So as for that 3D maneuver gear that is in here, this is exactly the same as what we saw multiple times before with all the other Figma Attack on Titan figures. Same goes for that Survey Core mantle, so instead of going through everything one by one, right now there's a bit of a quick time lapse of what it's like attaching everything onto him, then I'll pop him on the horse, and we'll get a final look at what this figure looks like with everything attached. So if you do want more details on the 3D maneuver gear, how to attach the mantle, etc., then you can just check out one of my older Attack on Titan reviews. They may be a little bit different to the way my videos are now, but the information is still valid. So as much as I wanted to make one lovely, clean, seamless time lapse and make this go from no equipment to fully equipped on the horse, that was absolutely and utterly impossible because this is not easy. This is Buckaroo on hard mode. So while failing to get him into any sort of pose without draping backwards or the horse falling over, I decided to take a quick look at the box, and what I realized is Max Factory themselves had to do a whole lot of shenanigans to get it into this pose. First off, it's got two bases. These aren't even flat on the ground, the back one's kind of tilted upwards. It's a whole lot of a, well, mess. Also, it's tripoded on two legs that are bent as well as the tail. And on top of that, I noticed the reins seem to be tucked into something in the background. So there's a lot going on here, and it's a bit of a balancing act. So yeah, no matter what I did, Erwin and his horse just weren't having it. They weren't getting along, and he wasn't gonna do anything but sag backwards on there. And because this is all just one big balancing act, that does make it almost impossible to get it the way that you want it. So I had the idea of, well, this guy's covered in so many wires anyway, why not just tie him to the horse? So I just took this string that we had left over in here. This isn't the one with the hook on the end that is for hanging up your Attack on Titan Figmas wherever you like to make them look dynamic and awesome. This was the leftover string, so I straight up tied him by his waist to the neck of the horse. I then tried to cover it with the reins, and that was quite effective. So in general, you can't notice that he is tied to the horse unless I told you. Between all the wires on the 3D maneuverability gear and the reins, you can't really see it. So this does work out, but it is a bit of a, well, hack of sorts. But yeah, if you want him in a nice pose up on that horse, you're gonna have to tie him on. So as for the articulation here, it's pretty much exactly what you'd expect from a Figma. So you're not gonna get any OTT poses out of this, but you'll still get everything that you want when it comes to general human movement. So they are all single joints. There is the neck up and down, not crazy. He's not going to be looking up too high or down too low. There is the side to side. We have a bit of a pivot there too, nothing crazy. The shoulder here is double jointed. There's one joint in the torso there. The other one allows the arm to move up and down like so. There is the full 360 rotation there too. Single bend at the elbow, which is pretty good. Doesn't go all the way, but once again, it's just a single joint. That typical Figma wrist, which is that, and full rotation. The joint for the ab crunch in here is double jointed. And what we get out of that is there is all the way back, there is all the way to the front, so it is quite good. Not crazy, but quite good. This sash section at the waist is made out of a soft, pliable rubber, so in general, it does not get in the way of posing. There is only a certain amount of real estate inside of this guy's here crotch, so that does mean if you kick one leg all the way up to the side, like so, you do limit the movement on the other side. So you can't get the full splits out of him, but you can still get a one-legged kind of kick splits. There is that kick all the way up to the front. There's the kick all the way out to the back, so pretty much basic human movement. Again, Figma Erwin rocks a pretty sweet drill kick. There is that bend at the knee, so quite good. What we would have seen with the other Figma Attack on Titan figures. At the ankle, then we've got all the way down, all the way up. We also have a side-to-side pivot, and finally then that bend right here at the toe. So when it comes to articulation, you're going to get pretty much exactly what you want from this figure, but it's not going to blow your mind. When it comes to Max Factory's Figma, it seems like they haven't really innovated in the last 6 to 7 years, so it's pretty much par for the course, and honestly, I've no complaints. So anyway, that right there is it for the review, and I do love this Figma. It's so awesome, it's so good. The horse is a better variant than what we saw before with the standard Figma horse, but this figure is not without its issues. The biggest issue, of course, is the fact that Max Factory should have not been so cheap and lazy and included a custom stand for this figure. The standard Figma stands are designed with just a regular Figma in mind, not a big old bulky horse with a rider on top. So they do struggle with holding it up. It does need two at the one time, and still, there is nothing to support Erwin once he's up there on the back. So once again, if they did just include a custom stand that held them both at once, was a little bit more robust, this figure would be perfect. But besides that, just throw on a little bit of rope, tie him on there, and you'll get exactly what you need from it. There it is up on a shelf, all tied together, looking fantastic and perfect. From a distance, you won't even know he's tied on. So if you are a fan of Attack on Titan or just love Figma, I do recommend this figure right here. Just keep in mind that it is a little bit hard to pose because, as well as that 3D maneuverability gear, we also have the horse involved. But if you're more patient than I am, a little more, well, good with your hands, you might be able to do it better than I did. Anyway, if you do want one of your own, there's a link down there in the description. You can get yours at HobbyLink Japan. I mentioned earlier on in the video, there is a 10% off coupon down there in the description if you want to use that. Once again, that is one use only until the end of August. As always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to come back for more Figma reviews because I will do one even if it is in 6 years. I will do one eventually, I'm sure. Anyway, thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.